Welcome everybody to the Monday, November 4th Conway Selectboard meeting. Call meeting to order. Since we have a representative here from Forest and Trails, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to new business. Second item on new business is vote to appoint Jennifer Heigl to Forest and Trails for a term ending June 30th, 2027. Anything you want to say about Jennifer?
She's been great. She's worked with us for the past year and a half or so doing invasive removal behind the school. And Saturday we put in a reading circle.
Oh,
Back
nice.
there, 12 little stumps in a circle. So check it out if you're at grammar school. So yeah, so she's been active with the group and we had the opening on it.
Awesome.
Twisted her arm. She's joining
That's great.
officially.
I move to appoint Jennifer Heigl to Forest and Trails for a term ending 6/30/27.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome
Thank you.
aboard, Jennifer, and thank you for your service.
So Lori, I presume next week sometime we'll send her the links for the ethics course and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, not this week.
Definitely not this week.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Awesome.
great, all right.
Well,
I'll
thank you
let
so
guys
much.
do your other business.
Gosh, yeah,
All right,
thank you.
Moving to the top of the agenda, vote to approve minutes of October 21st.
Those look good to me. I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, on to the warrants. Looked them all over. What I was gonna say is in the payables, we have the new transfer station platform, which came at a very good local price. It looks awesome. They did
Really
such
does.
a remarkable job. Thank you, OSCO.
Mhm.
They even painted the stairs. Those are the original stairs that were already there on both sides. They painted them to match.
Oh, wow.
It's orange, so hopefully people see it when they back up their trucks and don't keep ramming into it. Also in there was, what did I say? That I saw.
It was Maple Road.
Oh, Maple Row. Yeah, the work that's been done on the first responders building. Anybody can go by and see that the foundation was already dug out. The
Wow.
frost wall was put in. They put in, more earth, tamped it down. Next will be the school will come to start the plumbing. So we'll get into that once the TA updates come around. But anyway, I'm going to make a motion to vote to approve accounts payable warrant in the amount of $118,271.08. The payable warrant, the payroll warrant in the amount of $146,482.37, and the payroll deduction warrant in the amount of $36,094.47.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Meetings attended by select board members.
None since our last meeting.
I was supposed to have a Frontier building meeting, what do you call it?
Oh, the Capitol?
Capitol.
Yeah.
So I went there on Wednesday, all ready for the meeting, thinking it was, Wednesday? It was Tuesday. The janitor's like, there was a meeting here last night, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what day it is, so
You'll have.
I missed it. I was kind of hoping Phil went, because I think he's on that committee too.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's the case, but I will follow up.
Got it. I had to write down some of mine. I went to the MRF contract extension meeting, the community grant, the MVP 2.0 call that we attended. I went to the highway department, talked to Ron for quite a bit. The ADU webinar, I was only able to be on it for a half an hour and then had to jump on the RTE call.
What's RTE?
That's the streetlight
Oh,
call concerning the streetlights. I thought it was a good call. I thought they were very professional and seemed like a good crew that they have.
we have 80 streetlights in town, is that right?
67.
67 or 8, right? It was 67. It was 67.
I have a FERCog meeting on Thursday. One of the presentations is a dark skies presentation.
Well,
So-
these people were very informative because we were talking about that, and it's this certain type of light you get, this certain type of lumen or shade is important to qualify for
Mhm.
dark sky, which was, my impetus. I wanted to push for that.
Definitely.
So, yeah, those were the meetings I went to that I can remember.
Cool.
Public comments, none. Unfinished business, none. Back to new business. I'm very happy about this one. Discussion and vote to hire Corey Skinner as a full-time CDL driver for the highway department. Everybody knows Corey. He was already on the highway
Right, I was
department.
gonna say, he's.
Yeah. So luckily he's willing to come back. He's also a mechanic. He's would be a huge help. He's local, of course. So I'm gonna make a motion to vote to hire Corey Skinner as full-time CDL driver for highway department.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
I saw him at the dump, telling the dump guys about it.
Yeah.
They were all, oh, great. that's
Welcome
so
back,
great."
Corey. Glad to have you.
so now we've got 2 CDL drivers, or
Three.
counting Ron?
We
No.
have 4 now.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Well, Raymond will start he should be starting this week, I hope. So Ron and then 3 others.
Awesome.
So,
So everything we've done so far has
That's,
helped.
it's
yes.
definitely an improvement. I mean,
Yes.
we're better staffed.
Now,
than we
are the
have been.
culverts on Shelburne Falls Road, are they waiting for further repair or?
There was a whole discussion on
Oh,
that
okay.
today we can get to.
Okay.
No and yes.
Okay.
It's a complicated answer.
All right, I'll wait for the discussion.
Next on new business is to vote to appoint Andrew Lovechek to Zoning Board of Appeals for a term ending in June 30th of 2027.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Andrew Lovechuck to the.
CBA.
Yes,
ZBA
term ending 27.
6/30/27. I will second. All in favor?
I,
Aye, unanimous. Welcome, Andrew.
That's great.
And one more appointment. Vote to appoint Phyllis Crane, who we all know obviously, to the ZBA for a term ending also June 30th, 2027.
so moved.
All
All
in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you. All right, items not anticipated 48 hours in advance of
Oh,
the
wait,
meeting.
are we doing the letter of support, or is that one not, oh, I'm looking at
Oh.
it.
That was big, that's
Okay,
older.
all right.
Oh, got it.
That was the last one I had for you, okay.
Items not anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. This is a big one here. Lori Hall has agreed to take on 8 hours a week to help the building cleaning.
Yay.
So the way we do this here is vote to hire. So I'll make a motion to hire Lori Hall for 8 hours a week at $21 an hour for town building cleaning.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you, Lori.
That is excellent.
Moving on to the TA update. Z. Plural.
Oh, I only have one update.
Yeah.
And I was on vacation for one of those weeks, so. As far as the boards and committees, I did have a really interesting meeting. You know that I've got a spreadsheet going for talking with the different IT vendors to try to compare apples to apples. And I think it was Lori Lucier who had suggested that I try Suite 3 as one of the vendors. Well, it turns out they were bought out by this company called SourcePass, which also encompassed a bunch of other companies. So we had a Zoom meeting, and it was really interesting the way they bill for things. They, instead of billing by the device that you have, they bill by the number of employees, and they will take care of whatever devices that employee has, which was just a different way of,
Yeah.
So I was impressed with them, but I still need to get to the rest of the spreadsheet and fill everything in there and then go over it, with you all and the team and see where we go from there. But I'm hoping to have somebody to recommend in a couple of months.
Great.
So, yep. And then obviously transfer station, woohoo, middle ramp.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
Jan, I mean, was incredibly impressed. She was tickled to pieces with that too. And then, as Chris mentioned, the public buildings, we had a kickoff meeting with Ben Hay, and actually, Dave Reland was there, and, Walter's gonna be basically our sort of general manager in charge of everything, and we talked about what the process was gonna be. And the big thing to me was just, depending on how things go with the students, and I'm just so tickled that, Ken has been amazing being the liaison with them and getting everything going. That if everything goes according to plan, the walls are gonna go up this month and there'll be a roof by Christmas or by the
Wow.
holidays, which is just,
Quick.
astounding, yeah. And I took a picture of them, which is just fantastic. It's gonna go in the next Conway Currents, just so
That's
everybody can see, yeah. I told them they didn't have a choice.
If only they knew how to repair bridges.
I know,
Yes.
right? I did get an email recently from a woman who was expressing a desire to have a sidewalk going around the Old Masonic down to at least the South River Meadow. I've gotten emails over the years asking, because it is rather dangerous around there to go all the way up to Reed's Bridge. And I did discuss this a year or so ago with Ron. The problem, it looks like it would be doable to work on this going up to the South River Meadow. Past that, we're talking about where the river comes in at Cemetery, and the kind of way we're trying to get that part of the river bank stabilized as it is. So doing that right now just is kind of problematic.
Mhm.
Might involve actually at some point trying to move the whole road over, which is really problematic. But the grant opening just came to us, both of us today, that we would apply for this.
Oh, good.
So
So
Yeah.
the sidewalk would go around the old Masonic Temple and.
Right.
So,
correct.
and what about that portion that's their driveway?
Well, actually, we're gonna have to have discussions
Yeah.
about what's town owned and what's, yeah, and see. But anyway, so that'll be one of the things I think we'll work on. I think it would be really
That'd
helpful.
be really good, because it's a dangerous corner.
It is a
Yes.
dangerous
Yeah.
corner, yeah.
It would be great to go down to Reed's Bridge, but like she explained,
Oh, yeah.
that'd be very difficult right now, given the riverbank.
Yeah, it really would be.
And, I talked with Ron about this, and he said the same thing. You basically have to shift the road, the entirety of that road, which
That road
is,
is gonna cave in on the
Yeah.
riverside.
yeah, I mean, to put in a sidewalk, you'd have to do that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you'd have a sidewalk on the other side, and you'd have to keep crossing the road, which defeats the purpose of putting a sidewalk
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
first place. So, but thank you. Oh, and,
Yeah.
Unless you put it all the way on the other side, but that embankment is so steep, I don't think you could really get one in.
Yeah, it would be difficult, yeah. Yeah, and then coming around the curve, you're up against, a high embankment, so it's not like you can even jump out of the way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, that curve after Reed's Bridge is hard to see too.
Yeah,
You can fly around there.
so you were gonna say?
Oh, no, just your last point there.
Oh, about the MVP meetings? Oh, okay, yeah, so I was trying to look back and see what I'd done 2 weeks ago, because I couldn't remember. But we did have an MVP 2.0 meeting, which that's the one where we're gonna do this in conjunction with Ashfield. And we're gonna, the process basically is that we're gonna have a vendor that's gonna come in and help us get community engagement. And then we're gonna do that, and everybody's gonna talk and kind of go through their priorities and what the town people who have not necessarily been involved before, it's supposed to be a whole town thing, kind of, like the turnout that we had for the last one, which was great. But who knows what kind of seed project is gonna come out of that. And so we're sort of almost doubling the amount of money that we're gonna have to work with. Now, the thing is, it's in conjunction with Ashfield, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of seed project can be done with Ashfield. But MVP loves that we're doing it together, so that's great. Then, and I'm also attending these federal fund partnership meetings, which I think I explained about that before. The state knows that there's all this money coming from the feds, and they're trying to make sure that all the towns get it. So I'm trying to go to those meetings monthly and see if there's any place that we can tap into. And then the MVP application that we will do for FY26, which is separate from the 2.0, we had a big meeting with all the people who've been involved forever. So we had Janet and Michelle, Joe Strgowski's not here in Conway anymore, but and everybody from FERCog and GZA and Nick Miller, and we were all talking about the different priorities. And the three that came to the top that seemed to be the easiest, because this is the expression of interest phase. This is just where we say, this is what we're looking at. We're all about lowering the floodplain. So there was the gentleman whose name I'm going to forget, who owns the dam on Eldridge. Because he's offered, I know, he's offered to work with us on that. Then there's also the lowering of the floodplain right around the covered bridge. And then there's also where the town took the easement at 69 Main Street. So those are all things we're looking at to see if they would support for the next project. So, and then I have a hard copy of the brochure here that's ready for mailing. Louise Beckett's helping me with this, and Lori's gonna get us all the information for sending it out to all the households, which have residents over 60, just so that gets in everybody's hands, and then I'll have hopefully the application done in the next week or two by the next meeting. I should have it for the next meeting for you all to give your final blessing for the application before I give it out to people.
Yep.
And then, the very last thing on here was Conway, the Division of Local Services gives free financial help to towns. And one of the things that they've done for us twice in the past was once they did a financial management review, and in 2012, then in 2019, a financial forecast. It's been 12 years since we had the financial management review, and I'd love to see the town do another one and kind of compare where we were then, what we've done right, what we still need to correct. But that's something that the select board has to request. So that's my question to the select board, if the select board would like to request another.
I like the word free.
I was gonna say, like, if it's free, why not? No obligation, I mean, it's not
Absolutely.
like, we do the study, but we don't give you the results unless you pay us for them. The analysis is free.
If we just say, yes, please go for it, do you need a vote on this?
No, I think that's fine, but a select board member is gonna have to do the actual signing off on it.
Okay, I'll do that, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I think that sounds, I mean, if it's free, we haven't done it in,
Over a
12
decade.
years, so.
I mean, they're incredibly helpful. They have so many tools on their website. It's just amazing, the data, I think there are a bunch of real data hounds that they love to so it's great. You can go in there and see all this stuff about the town for a long time, and it just helps. Yeah, so. All
I
right.
like the flyer too.
Can you
Yeah,
make
that
the
looks good.
emblem a little bigger? It seems a
Sure,
little-
sure. Actually, there was
Just
a
make it
red line
screen
on the bottom
Conway.
too, which I wouldn't mind seeing back in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sure.
Papyrus
Otherwise
font,
it's
font,
great.
not papyrus?
Are you using comic papyrus? It exists.
It does it really?
It's like, yeah.
Oh, sounds hideous.
It's bad, it's really bad.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate that. Select board member comments or concerns? Or both?
I have none presently.
Are we gonna hear about the Shelburne Falls update or no? Is that-
Oh, so what happened on Shelburne is that it was falling in.
Yeah.
And we needed an emergency.
We're talking about Bardwell's Ferry Bridge, right?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, the $1 million
Culverts.
grant that we,
Oh,
Were awarded
Oh, for the
for
culverts.
Mass Works.
Okay, all right.
People still have to slow down there, which
Yeah,
isn't a bad
yeah.
thing, and there's like a double.
Well, there's like
clunk.
a steel plate over there,
Yeah.
right, still. Yeah.
So this all happened after we had already applied for the grant. So out of nowhere, it's like, no, this needs to get done immediately. As you know, it's the only way that we have to get that way out of town
Mhm.
because Bardwell's Ferry Bridge is closed. So it was very important to get that done. It got done. We were awarded the grant. Now we're looking into seeing where the grant would apply in the same vein of the work, different scope of what we're looking for.
Mhm.
So we're gonna gather some information together, send it back to the state. If they're okay with it, great. If they're not, then so be it.
And Ron can do the work, or we need to?
Ron's already done the culvert
Oh,
work,
yes, I knew that.
right? So we wanna see what else it might be
yeah,
used for.
Okay.
How much did we get in the
$1
grant?
$1
million,
million,
Okay,
yeah.
so,
yes.
not a small share.
No, I mean, it's a wonderful,
And that's money we don't wanna send back, like.
No.
Yeah, and there's obviously all kinds of stuff that still needs to be done
Yeah.
for the same reason, the same part of that water management in that area.
It's not specifically.
Well, that doesn't
culvert.
seem like that's finished there.
The culverts are finished, but the embankment obviously is not.
Yeah,
But we were told because of the length of time you would need to even get approval for that work, the timeline wouldn't match with what we need to offer to obtain the grant or to use the grant money.
So we have to spend it within a certain amount of time.
so yeah, I just re-looked at the letter with Ron after our meeting. So we're supposed to have the contract signed in January and all of our vendors lined up by June. So then the construction starts. So this is not necessarily stuff that Ron would be doing, it's stuff that would be, yeah.
because it's still super rough. It's not like.
Well, it's not that so much. What was originally envisioned before it catastrophically failed was to have a stream standard crossing bridge, which basically means it's like a big open bottom,
Yeah,
which allows, the fauna to go traverse it. But since we had the emergency situation and we have a 5-foot culvert in there now, I think it's just a matter of smoothing out the road, which is,
Right.
and Ron has that section of Shelburne Falls Road planned for next year anyway. So I'm
Okay.
sure that's why he's not,
Waiting.
it's,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's certainly passable. I don't get a big anymore,
It's still a pretty good
but,
clunk, double clunk.
Yeah,
There's two
because
spots.
there's two
Stop
right in
going
there.
80.
Yeah.
That's a speed bump. Slow down.
Yeah. So, and GZA was part of the engineering for both the grant, the Mass Works grant, but also working the Pine Hill area. So we're now gonna have discussions, Ron's gonna meet with folks from the FERCog to kind of see if there's some other way we can tile this in that makes sense, and then send that information to the state and say, is this all right for the use of these funds? It was just
Bad timing.
yeah, I mean, everything that we applied for, made perfect sense when we applied, and then all of a sudden it became an emergency, so.
Do we announce somewhere that we received this? That we applied and received it? I just think it's a
It's
good thing.
it's in the recorder.
Yeah, the state did have a thing last
Is it on the
Thursday.
website?
I
On the
didn't,
website?
I didn't put it on the website yet, just
I
because.
just think it really looks good for us that we are applying to these things and being awarded them, and that we sort of keep track of them, because when people are like, what does that town administrator do all the time, and her assistant?
Yeah.
I mean, I think things like that should be
Yeah.
kept track of.
Yeah.
Adam, you keep track of these kind of things? And
Oh,
maybe
we're
post
not gonna lose track of $1 million grant.
Yeah.
it. No, but I mean, post it
No,
on
I know
the
what
Oh,
you're
website,
post
saying.
put it
I know
on the
what you're saying.
website, yeah.
and
I
keep
guess
track of everything we're
I hadn't
This
wanted to
one-
do that yet,
Yeah,
only
because we
because
still
we're
don't
not.
know where we're going
Yeah.
with it, and if,
Yeah.
keeping it or not.
But to your point, we could have a section, and I could put it either into the select board or my page, and just have a section of grants and just start listing the things that have come in.
I think
That would
that's
probably
great.
Yeah.
make sense. Okay.
And in the recorder, one of Larrabee's articles, you'll see, I talked to him, and I was basically saying there's still a lot of discussion happening.
Mhm,
So it basically just says that in the recorder.
mhm. And what was the ADU thing you went to, was that?
Oh, it's just about the new law Massachusetts is passing to allow detached ADUs. I'm pretty sure the call went on for a long time. I believe Jeff Lacey was on it. It was hard to see because there were so many participants and they weren't showing names. So I'll have to get with Jeff to see if I'm hoping that a recording was done that they'll send us. I did download the documents that they linked to get a better feel for what municipalities like us need to look out for. I'm sure Jeff's all over it. Yeah.
Because their law would supersede anything we already have in place?
There just hasn't been a law. The only ADU law was an attached unit ADU
Right.
law. So now this is going into effect for the detached. But of course, you know, the way it could be done in a rural town like ours is different than the way it could be done in a more populated.
Does it still have to be owner occupied? The
That I
house?
don't know. I believe
I don't
it
think
has to be occupied. I don't think so.
I don't think so. But one of the limiting factors for a town like ours that's 100% well and septic is going to be the size of the septic, because that absolutely has to be, you know. So if you're adding something to your system, you know, if it's not already scaled for that many bedrooms or whatever, then you're going to have to upgrade your septic. So that I think is going to be kind of a limiting factor here. And it also will
Parking
impact
spaces.
parking, yeah, it'll also impact our common driveway law.
Yeah.
And who will manage all of that?
Well, planning is.
Planning boards can
Yeah.
have too.
What they're doing right now, I think, is they're trying to get a sense of, because all this goes into effect in February, I
Yeah.
believe.
February.
So they're trying to get a sense of how that law is going to affect us locally and where they want to impose and what local controls they can impose within the new law.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yep.
All right.
So I'm sure we'll see something for, if they don't decide they want a special town meeting, I'm sure we'll see some language for
Mhm.
annual town meeting on that.
The only thing I'll add to this section of comments and concerns is I have always had a concern about our school budget, just because it's so huge in comparison to the overall budget. It takes up so much of it, and the new growth is minimal, if non-existent. We've gotten somewhat lucky in regards to the money we got, or the appraisal for the hydro dam that helped lower the taxes. But I know it's the crown jewel of Conway. Everybody wants to keep it, of course. My concern is how long it can stay sustainable in the way it's being operated right now. And if we have,
Well, most of the school budget is salary.
right,
So,
yeah,
I mean, you got teachers and aides, so
Right.
there's not a lot of fat to cut in a school budget.
yeah,
So, I mean, which is why you live and die by school choice.
unless we find a way to get transportation paid for. Because we currently
Right.
can't do that based on how Chapter 90 is
Right.
formulated. And
Well, and that just went up astronomically, and it still isn't market. I mean, Gripco still is below Kosmeskis, but went up dramatically, but still, again, is still below Kosmeskis.
And with the school bus issue, with the direction that the state is taking, going all electric, and how they're pushing for everything to be electric, and there is an incentive right now going on with school buses. And they're giving out money to, you know, school districts that have their own bus systems. So I think there's gonna be some interesting adjustments in the transportation market over the next 5 or 10 years because of these initiatives, and we just have to see how if it affects us here or.
I mean, transportation's always driven me nuts because it's also so many students are driven to school.
Yeah.
And you have these huge buses out on these routes carrying 5 kids.
yeah,
And it makes me nuts. And I remember bringing it up multiple times, and they're like, you have to have the size bus for potential riders. So they're driving these mega buses around when they could have a minibus. You know, and it just is insane.
I wonder if there's, because I know when we were researching transportation, when we have just like a couple going to a technical school, and there's a potential to actually have agreements with the parents. And I wonder if there might be some way to explore in the beginning of the school year, having the parents like basically have a contract with the school saying, we are taking our children. And if there's enough, that then you could downsize to
I
a
remember,
van.
I mean, I can bring it up again, I just remember it's been, like, nobody will even look further into it because it's just
Yeah, I mean, I think
that
that's
kind of thing.
that's the thing we need to tackle is figuring out if there is a way to get grants or funding or the ridiculousness of using a full-size bus when you don't need to, something to drive down the cost of
Sometimes there's
transportation.
like 5 kids on these buses.
Yeah,
Not sometimes.
yeah,
Right.
because
Every day.
the school,
And it's one, and then you get the text school, there's 2 or 3 in a row, and each one of them only has 5 kids.
because the school is great, not only because of the leadership, but because of the teachers and TAs in comparison to the
Oh, right.
kids.
Right.
Right, the ratio is fantastic.
Yeah.
So we don't want to touch that.
Basically a teacher and aide in each class,
Right.
except for wings.
Right. So we don't want to touch that. So what's other than that, what's the big cost? And that's transportation.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just something I'd like us as a
Mhm.
board to think about.
Mhm.
And maybe you can obviously bring up when you're on the school committee
Oh,
the
always.
concern we all have for it, and just see if there's anybody we can talk to about transportation in the
Yeah.
state or wherever.
Would driving a smaller bus really bring down the transportation costs? Cause you're paying for,
You figure gas it would bring down
Uh,
minimally.
yeah, but gas is really, that's it, because you're still
Right.
paying a driver.
Right.
It's, and is the cost
That's a
of,
good question.
is that gonna make that big a difference,
Yeah.
driving a half-size
That's a very
bus?
good point.
How much the savings is that?
Right. It's true. You
And-
still need insurance, you still need the driver.
Right,
you
yeah.
still need-
Yeah, so it's just like with the school budget and salaries, the salary is probably the main
Mhm.
thing, but I am curious if the state would be willing to look into this more, only because, or help with that, because obviously driving around a huge school bus compared to a van is gonna be a lot, less environmentally friendly.
Not to mention on some of our roads having to do a
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
360
I know.
turn.
Like,
you know, in a
Right.
school
Oh,
bus.
I know.
and then, someone must keep track of just the numbers of kids that
Yeah.
ride the bus. I
I
mean,
don't
even
think they
really, maybe we can ask.
Well, I will say the
Informally
flip side of
interested.
that, having been a school bus driver, is that it's a lot safer driving a school bus on some of the winter roads than it is driving a van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even like a small school bus,
Right.
The weight really helps.
Yeah.
And it is always a delicate conversation to have about the school budget, because if we have a very educated parent population,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as there any wind
Oh, I know.
of
Yeah.
things are being reduced or cut back, or it's not being taken care of,
Mhm.
they'll do whatever to get their kid out of district, which costs us a lot more money.
Right.
And also school choice will dry up, which will
Yeah.
cost us a lot more money. That's why I'm always like, it needs to be treated like the gem, because, that, for those reasons, because to attract school choice and to keep our kids in district. I mean, at one point, I think before, did I have kids then? I was the special education team leader at Frontier, and Conway kids generally stayed in Conway, but then they didn't go to Frontier.
Mhm.
And parents would get their kids IEPs to go to special little schools for
Mhm.
things that Frontier could absolutely do and do better and keep their kid in district. But Frontier wasn't really marketing to the Conway, to the grammar schools in general, but Conway in particular. And so we had probably close to 6 to 10 kids going out of district that really didn't need to be out of district,
Mhm.
on our dime, which that's about $250,000 to $300,000 hit to your school budget.
Right.
Usually without a cost share. If you have a cost share with Department of Children and Family, or a cost share with Developmental Services, it's half of that. But if you have no cost share, it's a super quick way to kill your school budget.
Mhm.
And as soon as it seems like you're not taking care of your school, you start losing.
Yeah.
community members who think, oh,
So then,
my kid's not gonna get that there, so I'm gonna do this.
so yeah, then we can focus on transport then. See if there's anything we can do.
It would be great, it would always drove me nuts, but it would be interesting if they would keep a head count on the buses.
Yeah.
I don't know that they ever do that.
I know when my kids used to go to the grammar school, that bus was full.
Yeah,
But it drives by my house now and there's, like, there's no kids on.
yeah.
I don't know if that's just because like they're hitting us on the, like, the tail end, but I mean, when
I
my
only
kids got
see
picked
two.
up and dropped off, like that bus was full and I almost felt bad for the bus driver.
I only see 2 kids, and I know obviously where they live.
Yeah.
They live down my street, but I only see 2. They're the last 2
Yeah.
on there. Hopefully,
I don't know about that.
you know, and it's not just them.
My kids rode it,
But
it actually wasn't there, didn't seem very crowded then.
Guys, maybe it was just our loop, but they
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, it wasn't like full, but they,
Yeah.
there were like, 20, 30 kids on that bus.
Yeah.
mhm. Okay. Any other comments?
No.
No mail, right?
Mhm.
No announcements? Next meeting is November 18th. Anything else?
Nope, I moved to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.